Welcome back to What's on My Needles. And last week I was working on this. If you watched last week's episode, you know that there were some problems working on this. So this is where it stands right now. So to put it on, it goes all the way across the front, then back across the front. So I said in the last video that if there was extra, I would use it to do some improvements. I am going to tip the camera down slightly so you guys can see how long this is. So it does almost go down to my elbows. But I, in fact, have this much yarn left over of the second skein. So this is actually a little more than one skein of yarn. So what I'm thinking I'm going to do is I'm going to take the back portion, so the back two sections, and pick up from cables to cables and make a hood. It's not going to be shaped. There's not going to be anything super hard about it. It's just going to be a rectangle that is put together with the pattern. So let me get set up and I will show you how I'm going to work on that. So here is the neck edge of the shawl. So this is the cast on edge. As a reminder, I do cable cast on for almost everything. So that is what is here, not a long tail. So I'm going to go ahead and start picking up stitches. So I'm just putting my needle through that cast on edge. For a cable cast on, it's effectively loops across. So there's little V's like there would be on a slip stitch edge. I'm going to pick up a stitch. I'm leaving a bit longer of a tail than I normally would, just in case I need to readjust how many stitches I'm picking up. So I am skipping a couple stitches for the cable because I'm not doing a cable for the hood. I'm actually just going to do the same stitch pattern that I was doing for the base. And since it looks like it's going to take a bit longer to get to that other video where I explain what this stitch pattern is, what it is it's knit 3, garter stitch 1 stitch, knit 1, and then garter stitch for another stitch. So it's a set of 3 stockinette, 2 garter rows on either side of another stockinette. 1, 2, 3. And I'm just turning the cables into 3 stitches rather than leaving them as they're either 4 or 8. Depending on which cable it is. So I'm going to keep going all the way across. I will have 41 stitches once I get all the way across. That will be enough for 13 repeats or 13 columns, and then 1 slip stitch on either side. I will be working up this for a while and I will be back in a little bit. So let's go through the stitch a little bit more. I am almost at the top of the hood. So I'm on the wrong side, so this is where all the action is happening. So I'm going to purl 1, 2, 3, knit 1, purl 1, knit 1. And that's all the pattern is all the way across. I am almost done with this, so I will be back in a bit to show you how I do the top of the hood, because I don't like to seam things, so I will show you how I do that. Be back. So I've done my last wrong side row, so I'm all set to do another right side row, but I've also finished the length that I need. So I'm taking the other side, I'm putting it in front so that I can do a 3 needle bind off. So I'm putting it in front, so I'm doing it on the wrong side so that the seam is on the inside of the hood. So I'm actually going to move my yarn to the front through both of those. And then purl. This first stitch always looks a little funny. Then pick up from the back needle, pick up from the front needle, and purl them together and pass the first stitch over the second. So because this is a metallic yarn and I've got that little extra piece of metallic thread running around it, this has a tendency to get a little bit harder because that thread does not like to go with the rest of the yarn. I've been ignoring that for the majority of the project, but for the bind off, I have to be a little more careful. So I'm just making sure that the stitches are laying flat from both the front and the back needles before I bind off. So I'm going to continue like this all the way down. I will finish off the ends and I will show you how this turned out. And here is the finished shawl. So it goes up over one shoulder, up over the other, and then now I've got a nice pretty little hood. So not quite how I envisioned it, but it certainly works. So I will see you next time on What's on My Needles.